Hey everyone. Hey Jen.
Hey.
Hey Michelle. Hey Maggie. Hey Lindsay. Hey
Hi, I think,
Aaron.
oh yeah, there's Luann. We got
Hey.
her back. Hi,
Yeah.
hi.
I think we should just, it sounds like you already started. I was just trying to call my mom, but
No, we were just chit-chatting.
shall we start with a bow? A bow to old Redford and sweetie animals everywhere. Yeah, so I don't want this to be too drawn out. I'm already I'm pretty tired, but just it's been really nice to hear little stories from people if they had a memory of him. And so selfishly, I just wanted to hear some of that. And I know ritual is important, and a lot of us have a lot of loss in our lives. And I think, I don't want to be an elephant article, but it's a good reminder of the preciousness of this life and all of our loved ones. And it's a good, like everything else with pets, they kind of teach us how to care and be forgiving and kind and how to be forgiven. And so if you met Red and you have any story, I'd love to hear it. I can also start as people are coming. I don't know if more people are coming, but just by kind of telling the story of his life a little bit, if I can make it through. But I also just buried him in the backyard. And I mean, honestly, intellectually, I thought I would be so grateful and happy when he died, because he was so happy and silly and such a dork. And but I'm just sad, and it's just awful mostly. But I know a lot of people have death, and I don't want to be too silly about it. But anyway,
It's not silly, Waylon.
Please, Jen, thank you.
It's not silly. It's not silly. And I guess my favorite Red memory is when Waylon let me crash his house for a couple nights in Boulder. God, it's been almost 8 years, I think. And I wasn't supposed to let Red snuggle too much because he would get too used to being there. Waylon said I would not be able to get rid of him if I let him snuggle, but I let him snuggle, and we got lots of belly rubs and lots of excitement. And I had this one moment where I was playing with the word art on Waylon's amazing fridge, and I couldn't decide between one of my poems, and Red like shoved his nose at one of them. So I left the one that Red shoved his nose at. That I don't think I think he knew that I was working on something. So that was just my favorite Red moment.
Oh, thank you for that. Yeah, the specific memories are so helpful. Like people just saying they saw him around town biking, or me biking with him. And there's Ashley, who was one of his main aunties, and Brandy.
Aww.
So are we just sharing stories now, Waylon?
Yeah, thank you.
So is it okay if I speak now?
Please.
Okay. So Waylon and I were barely acquainted, and we had just become Facebook friends, and Waylon needed a dog sitter for Redford, who I had really never met. And Redford got dropped off at my house by the assistant, and I wasn't at home, so I got home and Redford's just like sitting there crying and crying. I'm like, oh, hi, Redford, and introduced him to my dog Baby and showed him the backyard and stuff. And I was like, you've got to stop crying, because he was with us for about a week. And so, of course, we went hiking right away, and Redford had these dew claws on his arms. And I don't know, he got too exuberant or something, and like caught one of them on something and was bleeding, and I had to call up Waylon and tell him I'd broken his dog. It was really horrifying. But so Baby, my dog Baby's a girl dog, and so you know, girl dogs, they're just regular, but boy dogs, boy, they pee on everything. So we were at McGuckin one day. I was with the two dogs, and Redford just started peeing on everything.
Oh my God.
And I had to buy a roll of toilet paper or a paper towel and like clean up the couple spots that he had peed on. It was kind of embarrassing.
It's funny because he was such a good boy about peeing indoors.
But boy, at
90
McGuckin, everything smells so like there's so many dogs there, you
yeah,
know.
everything was marked by dogs.
Yeah.
Yeah, Ashley was, my memory is Jean dropped him off, but maybe not. But
Yeah, that
Ashley-
was probably it.
yeah, Ashley became, you know, up until Ashley, and how old was he then? 5 or something?
When we first started hanging out,
Mhm.
yeah, probably about 5.
So up until then, whenever I traveled, it was a random friend or a girlfriend or something, and it never felt good to leave because it was a different person. And, you know, I walked him in a certain way and whatever, and, you know, hey, Amy.
Yeah, but Redford would come over to our house a lot, and that was fun because Baby and he were like best buddies, and we were like literally like a stone's throw from Mount St. Anita, so we would go hiking every day, and
Exactly.
that was fun. So another funny memory I had, like I didn't really know this dog. Me and Baby are sitting on the couch, and Redford's kind of looking at us really funny, and we're like, "Come on the couch, Redford," and he didn't come on the couch, and eventually like was looking around and decided he would try coming on the couch, like it was obvious that he had never been on a couch before.
Yeah.
But in my house, it was like no rules, like do whatever you want. Like
Yeah, I think from then on, I allowed him to. Does anyone know how to hide non-video participants? I just want to see the people who are on screen as big as possible.
If you click on the 3 dots, I don't know if it's on one of the non-video participants.
yeah, in the
or-
top right
got
hand
it.
corner,
Thank
there's
you.
3 dots, and you just hide.
And no shame on non-video participants. I just want to see people's faces. And then Ashley became a real auntie to Redford and a sort of sister or auntie to me, or mom or something, like some combination of friend, auntie, mom, and troublemaking pal. And but your home became a like second home, and it reminded me of my mom's home a lot. And anyway, I never felt bad about leaving town again because Redford was safe, and I knew Ashley was good with him, and he and Baby, Redford dated many girls over the years, but Baby and he became quite serious and
Well,
committed.
as serious
And-
as 2 like fixed dogs could ever be.
yeah, exactly. I don't think they ever.
Well,
got
they
to-
certainly didn't, because they were both from the Humane Society, where they get
Yeah.
like first
But
thing.
they had many photos of them wrestling or running together, just exuberant joy. And Shannon called me this morning when I was on the phone with Michelle, and then I hung up and she called back and talked with her and cried a bunch. And Michelle and I have been on the phone for hours already, and Lindsay, and God, it's a workout. Brandy and Ashley, among others, came by in the last few days to see him, and I'm so glad I put the word out. So, oh, and Amy was the first one to come by and brought him a bunch of treats that he got very excited for. And
I want to share something if I can.
please,
uh,
Darcy.
I'm gonna start crying. What you just said, sorry. What you just said about, like, I saw your posts, having people visit him and bring him stuff, and I just want to say, like, to you that you participating in those like last days and last moments. Sorry, can you hear me?
Of course, and don't
I
be
got so
sorry.
emotional. I don't know if my voice is
No, we can hear you.
okay. You creating those experiences for him in those last few days and moments, it's something that you can treasure forever, and something that, you know, like, you were able to provide an environment for him, even at the the last parts of his physical doggy life, that he got to see people, he got to experience amazing things and have treats and go in the water. And I just want to say to you that I saw that I saw that in hearing you talk about it. I just want to say, like, that is so meaningful, and you did a really good thing for you and for him, because that's part of your memories now too. It's part of your experience now too, getting to share that.
Thank you.
You get to keep those. You'll get to keep those experiences and like look back and just remember you were a part of that part too. And like when you say that, you know, we all have, or all will, many people experience death. It doesn't invalidate your experience too. And like I think like whatever you feel and whatever you experience, like it's still so part of this life. And some of my favorite memories with Redford, as someone who never met him in person, but like saw him through Academy and watched him through all of your stuff, like some of my favorite memories are just like your bond with him and seeing like how much a part of each other's lives you were and are. And like I learned so much about loving someone else and loving a human or loving a living thing from like seeing this bond and experiencing this bond, and just from you and Redford, and like seeing him have fun and like doing mischievous things. And like even I thought of the bike, and I've never like seen him with a bike. Just like I think, you know, like seeing your bonds, seeing your lives together, seeing all parts of it, the hard parts, the mischief parts, like it's all part of that. And I think like it's just, I don't know, that relationship and that bond has really impacted me. And I just share with you that like, I don't know, just want to highlight that and thank you for sharing, and also just like validate this experience and what you did for him in those final days and these final moments. Like it's just so special. And now I'm kind of like rambling, but just sending everything, because this is so hard. It's so hard.
Yeah, it's exhausting. I thank you for that. And I had thought about it being wonderful for him, but I hadn't thought about it being good for me. So I appreciate you pointing that out. And Amy, I'm not sure if I saw you wanted to say something. If anyone needs to go and wants to talk, like this is a conversation, just jump in. And Jen, I want to see this stuff.
If I could add to what Darcy was saying, like it was so obvious that you and Redford just adored each other. And I was, the other day when I came to visit Redford, I was telling Waylon that like Redford was his biggest fan. Like Waylon has a lot of fans, but Redford was his biggest fan, and he was also Redford's biggest fan. But one day we were all out and about, and we were like about a block away from Lolita's Market, and Waylon had to like run down and go do something, and me and Red and Baby were just kind of left there on the corner by ourselves. And Red, this is also, I had just barely met the dog, just set up into this howl because he was half hound, and he just was howling and howling because he missed his master. He
used to be a howler.
You. And sometimes like, and then later on, like I found out like as like ambulances would go by, like Red would just sit down and just start howling. Like he was just hilarious.
Yeah, it was like at a Disney, whenever I think dogs who howl think they're being helpful in some way, like they're joining in, they're passing on the message. And he stopped when he was around 10 or something. Michelle, I don't think we ever got him to fully howl in our
Well, I was
2
gonna
years.
say that I never got to hear him do that.
Oh.
Yeah, but it's on video, Michelle, in that I put that video in there. And I used to get him to howl easily and let ambulances or car alarms or other dogs howling, he would go for it. Amy, do you want to?
I'll just quickly say that
No quick.
I wanted
No
to
rush.
tune into this and just been thinking about you all so much, and largely because I feel like Redford was like an appendage to you, Waylon. Like he was just so deeply a part of who you are and who you are as a family with Michelle. And so yeah, to lose him feels really big.
Yeah.
But I also feel very grateful because I got a puppy this past year and he was so sweet to Mocha.
Oh, yeah. Until recently, he was still like he
Sorry.
had a friendship with the next door dog who's kind of a crazy puppy, and then that changed pretty fast after his surgery. He wasn't really available anymore, but
Yeah.
yeah.
But yeah, just wanted to
Thank
be
you.
here and know that that I'm here for you all. And if there's anything I can do, it's one of the hardest losses.
Yeah.
I have to
think,
do an Instagram live now. Thanks.
yeah. You're welcome. Well, your heart is beautiful and people will appreciate getting to see it.
Yeah. Well, I'm with you and cherishing every memory that we shared, voting together with little Red and sitting in
So
the
many
backyard
times.
together and being in the cemetery, all of it. So
What was after the voting together?
maybe being in the cemetery, sitting in the backyard, all of it.
Oh, the backyard. Yeah.
Yeah.
Amy, we were talking about like with Waylon yesterday, and we were like, and Ashley started to bring this thread into this conversation today about him peeing on things, and and I just remember we were sitting in the backyard at some point, I think it was after the graduation, and he came over and decided to pee basically like right next to you, like almost to you, and I'm like, oh my God. He's
Oh yeah, that was like, and it was like a big pee. Yeah. And the funny thing is I trained him. So like he never peed in my house. He never peed when I was with him anywhere. But sometimes when he was off leash inside someone else's house or McGuckin where there had been dog marks, he would. And I remember once or twice he completely inappropriately peed on a child. And I remember one time it was like by the library and the kid was sitting on a hill and Redford was off leash, and it was one of those moments where you're like, what is happening in slow motion, and you're like, no, like in Austin Powers, and the kid didn't even notice, and you have this moment of like, because it's on the kid's back, of like I don't think I have the capacity to go up to this random kid and be like, my dog just peed on you. So you kind of walk away. There's like no good move there. But generally, yeah. What's that?
I just have to hop off in a minute to get on.
Oh, Brandy
call.
and Alex just came by and had some quality time. Probably one of like 6 people who came by or 7 people who came by. Yeah, if you'd like to share anything.
Yeah. Well, I've only known you, Waylon, in the context of Redford. The first time I met you, he was there at the old Elephant office. And I remember walking in and him just being the best greeter in the world, like so self-expressed, so much enthusiasm. And I haven't been able to have a bigger animal besides my rats since we've been living in this place. And I'm such an animal lover, and it just meant the world to me every time I saw Red, and I felt like he knew me even though I didn't see him all the time, and I felt like he was greeting me like I was his person, and the specialness of that was so heartwarming. He was an icon. It was like getting to see a unicorn anytime, getting to see Red out and about, like around Pearl Street, or seeing him sit outside Trident. It would just bring so much joy into my heart. And the first few times ever spending time with you, Waylon, going on hikes with Redford and getting to experience the beauty of the mountains through his eyes and the forest through his eyes, and just his exuberance for life. I'm sure I'm personifying a bit, but it just really felt like he was so grateful for life and so grateful for every person, like undiscriminating, just everyone. It's like, wow, you're a human, you're here, I love you. That's just the energy that I felt from Redford every time I got to spend time with him. And he was so like, you're familiar, like you're animal. You two were like a unit, so much so. And then Michelle you coming in and being his mom immediately and just like adopting him, and the love that you both have for him is so apparent. And this community that you've created, like, I've never seen this. I've never seen so many people come together to celebrate the life of an animal. And I've lost animals in my life, and I know it's just like, it's the end of the world. It's so heartbreaking and devastating, and I've felt so alone in those experiences because people are like, oh well, it's a dog, and it's like, no, it's my family, it's like my child, it's my best friend, it's my everything. And I know that that's what Red was and is for you guys, and for clearly this whole community. And I'm so grateful that you shared him so much with us. You know, just such a beautiful spirit. And I feel so honored to have gotten to know him and love him.
Yeah. And just to echo that, you know, getting to see Redford. I regret coming into Brandy's life so late in the game for so many reasons, but only getting to meet Red so few times, and, you know, getting to see him last week. Oh my gosh, it's just such a testament to not only the community that you fostered, but the type of people that Red, you know, drew in. Like, he is and was so special and important to so many people. And it's so beautiful to see this sort of turnout here. You know, he is a part of you and always will be. And it's just a testament to the character of you all.
Well, you two had some good cuddles with him, and Alex, you connected super directly with him. And I think that was my approach with Redford, was just, you know, feeling like a lot of pets are here for us, but it should be the opposite, that, you know, you exercise your dog and you take them out if they want to go out. And so I almost never left him at home unless he was tired or needed to nap or something. And I think that's a lot of what made him what he was, because he naturally wanted to run around and see people and hang out with dogs. Like, you see that isolation to a dog is the saddest thing, and they feel sad. Like, Redford would always look sad when I came back, and he was even in my backyard. And so that's why I was saying that maybe it was someone else, it was Amelia. I was like, you don't need a backyard for a dog. Backyards are irrelevant. Backyards are not enough. Like, if it's just for peeing, sure, but you have to take your dog out with you. Like, you cannot leave your dog. They are social beings. And then the other thing, I know it's not hip or whatever anymore, but I don't frankly care. The dog whisperer really raised me and helped me let Redford train me. And by that, I mean that most dog problems come from us projecting onto our dogs instead of like giving them consistency and exercise and groundedness and affection, but only affection in the right moments. Meaning, you don't give affection when they're acting out or hyper and you're trying to calm them down. You give them affection when they're in a good state of mind, and then they learn, oh, okay, you're my ground. And it's probably similar with parenting, but we'll learn that the hard way, just like I learned with Redford. So he really raised me, and I always gave him a lot of credit for, you know, teaching me not to be an asshole, because whenever you're like mad at Redford for running across Pleasant Street in front of cars, you know, you're mad at a dog's face and you're immediately like, I'm the asshole here. Like, this is stupid. Like, you can train him, but you can't yell at him, because it's like too late at that point. Like, it doesn't work. He doesn't learn from that. He learns that you're mad, and he may learn fear, but neither of those is really that helpful. Frankly, like, you just have to like do it way before.
Yeah. So, like, how can you be mad at him for peeing on an unsuspecting child? I'm sure that kid did something to deserve it if Red did that.
I mean, just to be fair to him, 14 years old, I think I saw him pee on like 2 or 3 children, and he tried pretty hard to pee on Amy. Probably got a little bit, but you know, he was really good boy. Like, I've had dogs walk in and start peeing in my house. Like, Redford, like 99% of the time never did that, and was just in other people's houses. I mean, it was a little bit of an issue, ironically, at Michelle and Maggie and James's house, because he walked in, and then I was like not happy with that. I'm like, I cannot trust him off the leash in a house where he's marking territory. Not cool. Well, thank you. If anyone does need to go, if anyone wants to speak or share anything, you're welcome to.
This is so special, and thanks for letting us participate.
Yeah. And we'll be adopting a pup soon, and the inspiration of how you have raised Red is definitely going to be alive in our relationship with our new pup. So the love lives on.
Well, you know, I have lots of tips, because I remember, just to tell a little bit of his life story, when I first adopted him, I was like, I think I was 32, and I was like completely, in a good way, completely clueless and humble about adopting a sentient being. I was like, why do they allow people to adopt dogs without training? And I remember all these people, a lot of staff and friends, were greeting him. He was a little puppy when I first got him. And they were greeting him in my house right here, right there. And one by one, they started leaving, and it was like 6, 7 p.m. And I was just freaked out. I was like, what? I have no idea how to be a parent or whatever to a sentient being. And so I really jumped into like dog whisperer and all this training. And there's such good basic tips in terms of the like going to the bathroom stuff and making them feel grounded and not taking out your, you know, treating them like they're your baby is not generally helpful. You can give them all the love in the world and they can be your family, but you don't want to like project onto them too much. They're still like a dog, and they want to like be a happy dog.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, just to echo what Brandy had shared, I also like the bond and connection, the way you talk about all aspects, right? It's like they're fun and loving, but they're also sometimes a pain. Like they make you so happy and laugh, and they also make you upset. Like this relationship of what that actually looks like, and how like complicated but beautiful, but like weird and frustrating but happy, like all of that like has also definitely, I don't know, impacted the way that I am with my dogs and with humans too in general. I think that like this experience with Redford, like even if you don't even know, like it's gonna live on with so many people for so long in so many different ways, and with yourself of course, but also just like it's so special, and being a part of this has been so special. Plus he's super cute and his little freckles.
He's such a character. He could be so handsome, and he could be so dorky, and he could be so kind of like into his own self kind of sometimes, which was adorable. Like sometimes you'd be like, Redford, wanna la la la, and he'd just be like laying there like bored of you, and he was just such a character.
Uninterested. Yeah.
Oh my
Sometimes
God.
like I'm just doing my thing. Come on. What are you thinking? Jen is asking if you can please tell the story of when he got out and got like when you thought you lost him.
Oh, so many times. But Jen, do you mean the Frat Boys, that one?
Yeah.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, so he got lost a couple times over the years, and you know, because he loved to explore. People are always like, oh, Redford loved you so much. I was like, yeah, but he's also like in his own mind, he's like his own guy, and he definitely was happy to like wander off anytime. And he wandered. So one day I think I left the gate open. I don't remember how he got lost, but he left the gate open or something. I left the gate open, and he, you know, you go through that like, I'm cool, I'm keeping it together, I'm looking for him, I've looked for him for an hour. You start feeling like a little bit freaked out. You call the Humane Society, nothing. And you know, I live in like a very speedy traffic area with 9th Street and University, and I've seen dogs hit by cars here. And so anyway, it was like getting to be evening, and for some reason I just was like, okay, all I'm gonna do is like go door to door on the whole block and knock. And eventually I went to this like 2 or 3 doors down. Maybe it's 3 doors down. And I knocked, and I was like, and it was a bunch of frat boys, basically, you know, super like, not like pretty average looking, not handsome, privileged party animal white boys. And, you know, but kind of big and beefy, like all American in the Republican sense of that term. And I knock on there, and they're like, I'm like, have you seen a dog? La, la, la. And they're like, yeah, he's right in here, like on the couch. And everyone there, this frat party situation, was in love with him. Like they were watching hockey with him. He was on the huge L-shaped couch. He looked really sad and lonely when I walked in. Like he looked like, okay, this was fun for a couple hours. I got to eat ribs in the backyard at the barbecue, which is what drew him over there. But now I'm like ready for bed. And where have you been? You know, and I'm not projecting that. Like he looked sad and lonely and tired. But they were so, part of the reason I gave them kind of an unflattering description of these boys is they were so sweet and they loved him. And I hung out for a little while and talked to them, and I asked them if they would take a photo with him. And they, like within 2 seconds, like, I don't know, 15, 20 boys all posed with Redford. They just loved him. And I still have that photo somewhere in my Instagram or Facebook or something. And yeah, so that was a classic. So yeah. But yeah, someone said, like, there's definitely ups and downs in any relationship. And I definitely had, you know, a relationship with him, and I had very few downs with him. But once in a while, he'd be like bad behavior enough times in a row in 1 month where you're like, Redford, this isn't working. I am not happy. Like he bit some person once when they kind of stepped on him. It wasn't really his fault, but like there enough stuff would come up, and you're like, but yeah, he was, someone said in the comments, like he was a legend. A lot of people have talked about him being like a Boulder icon or whatever. And that's, I really enjoy thinking about him all over Boulder, just hanging out and napping and running around and greeting people. And people would greet me all the time, or greet us all the time, and give him a ton of love and pets, and then walk off without saying hi to me. And I'd be like, wait, I'm like kind of, you know, like I'm sort of popular in Boulder, like you should say hi to me. But people just loved him. And that was my favorite, when they would hang out with him and then just walk off. So anyway.
I think that's one of the first things that, first of all, when we first met Waylon, it was at Trident. And like I had been really persistent because I was like, no, like Elephant's been a whole thing, and I'm in Boulder and I need to meet Waylon and Redford. And I showed up a little bit
Wasn't
oddly.
it Spruce Confections?
I think, oh no, you know what? You're right. It was Spruce. And then we went to Trident.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, I showed up at Spruce, but I didn't know where you were, but I knew you were there because I saw Red. So before I'd ever even met you in person, I met Redford. And that's kind of how I knew that I was home. It's like all of a sudden, like there was this dog and you were right there and you were his person, but he came and laid on my feet and warmed them. They were cold in little flip-flops, and it was like May, and my little California feet were like, it's kind of chilly, but he came over and warmed them. And I was like, yeah, this feels right. And like, he was just always the happiest dog. He remembered people too. That's like I know dogs do, but like, even after like one meeting, like that's what I think is kind of rare. I don't feel like most dogs remember people after one meeting. But I saw him the next time, and he did his like whole whiny thing of like, oh, there you are. I'm so happy to see you. It's been so long.
Oh my God.
Just so wonderful.
He 100% remembered people, and you could tell the degree of affection he had for various people by the volume and length of his excitement, which, you know, I've sometimes found it irritating. People would be like, oh, it's so cute, and they'd pet him. I'd be like, if you can like kind of give him a little space until he calms down. Like you're not supposed to give affection to excitement or like anxious excitement. But people would be like, what? You know, this is like, he loves me. This is so self kind of fulfilling. And but that's not what it's about. It's about him. And I would always be like, it's cute once a day, but when you're me and you see it 13 times a day, and it's like people would look all over the block of Pearl Street and be like, what is happening to that poor dog? Because it didn't totally sound like happiness. It sounded like a dog freaking out, mostly in a happy way, but sometimes it was just like, it was a lot.
Yeah, and your parenting with him is something I want to recognize too, is like, your dog parenting with him and your training him is something that, like, I'm not a dog owner yet, but like one of my friends has a rescued husky, and he's a lot of dog. And so when I get around him, he'll start to try to, assert his dominance. And what I'll do is, like, when he tries to get my affection, I'll just do what you taught me to do. I just turn my back and talk to whoever. And within 2 seconds, he kind of chills out and is like, oh, actually, I kind of like that attention. And if I don't get it I don't get it when I'm acting up. So now I'm going to chill out and relax. And then his approach was like so very different. So like,
it's not that the joy is a problem. It's not that joy is a problem. You're not trying to suppress that, but it's like, there's an anxious joy. And then there's a, like, Redford, he was a very grounded, joyful dog.
Yes, he was.
Yeah. I remember we had huge parties in my house, and like, I remember he would like go into the middle of the dance floor and fall asleep. Like he always wanted to be like, with Michelle and me, we figured out a mathematical equation of like, he would triangulate wherever she was and wherever I was to be directly between, no matter where we were, upstairs, downstairs, different rooms. And he was always like slightly unhappy if we were in different rooms. Like, he pretty much, a lot of dogs are like that, of course. Lindsay, did you want to say anything?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I think probably like the first memory that came to mind was it was probably shortly after I started working with Elephant, and Redford was, I don't know, maybe 10 or 11 months or something. But after work, I was going to the dog park, and I brought him with me. And well, first we went in the car, and that was a real treat because, of course, Waylon doesn't have one. So his head was out the window, his ears were flopping. He was like, this is the best ever. Yeah. And, probably one of like the first few times that he had gone into the car. And then we got to the dog park, and it was his first time at the dog park. I have him on the leash, and I let him out through the gate and take him off the leash, and he's just like, oh my god, like, there's so many people and dogs and balls, and I can just run around freely. And he was yelping, and it was so funny. It was just like pure joy, and I just think about that so often. I'm like, and it was great because then I brought him back home, and he was like dead tired, and you're like, thank you for that.
Yeah, and that's a happy dog when they can get all their social energy out. I would always like bike him around for a couple hours, and then he'd be napping, not a couple hours straight, like, go out for the day, work the Trident or in office later, and then come back, and then he'd be kind of exhausted, but he'd rest in between, and he was just always happy in that way.
Yeah.
And until the surgery, he was like the 100th percentile of in good shape, and I was so proud of how good he was doing. I think the pandemic was a little hard for him because I went out a lot less. I biked, there was nowhere to bike to, and but
yeah, I second what Marisa said too about he was such a good foot warmer. I remember working at your dining room table, and I'd have my socks and maybe even slippers on too, but he would I'd sneak my toes under his belly, and I was like, so nice.
I know, we definitely used he loved cuddling, and we definitely used his bodily warmth for feet sometimes. Michelle, did you want to say anything?
Waylon, can I say something?
Security?
Yeah, I need to go soon, so I really want to say this. So I got to meet Redford a few times. Each time I was in Boulder, and the first time I remember I met you at Spruce, and then we hung out at the art thing which was happening in Boulder.
Oh yeah, Open Studios, yeah. Darcy, thank you so much for your comments. That was so sweet.
Thank you. It was, I meant them. And then we were to eat lunch, and I said, no, but I have to meet Redford. I'm here in Boulder to meet both you guys. And, because in the academy, Redford was there so many times in the session and everything. And then you went home, especially and got Redford, and he had lunch with us. And then we walked, and Redford was so nice. He like posed with me and let me take a gazillion pictures of him, because that's, you can't help it. He's so adorable, and he posed. I still have that, one of my favorite pictures. He's sitting by himself so majestically in the green, blue green truck. He would climb up, and then of course I have a lot of pictures with him. But yeah, and then my brother's dog is almost like Redford's doppelganger. So each time my brother would send his dog's picture, he's a little smaller. Redford was much bigger, but he has the same sort of marks and the same sort of snout. And and I've shared his pictures with you often. And each time I'd see Redford's picture, I'd send it to my brother. And when I'd see my brother's dog's picture, I'd send it to you. And yeah, I'm so glad that I got to meet Redford a few times. And yeah, he was there. But with me, I met him first time in 2017. So he was already middle-aged. So I didn't get to really jump around and run with him, but he was very accepting. He was like, okay, hi, you're there.
Oh.
And so, yeah, I love that.
Yeah, he loved like the farmers market and cafes, and we would run around open studios, which was that was a lot, but he would rest at every house on the way, and loved swimming in the creek all the time and cooling his tush and sitting in the water and swimming under that bridge, which he did just yesterday for the last time.
Yeah, I saw that picture. I'm so glad you took him there. Yeah.
I know. I had no idea that he was going to die. I was more in a space of like, he's really not doing well, and we might, if things don't, I really wanted to keep looking for solutions. And I was thinking about meeting with different vets, and because a lot of people were messaging me being like, this helped my dog and this helped my dog, and we did this and this. And so it felt like there could be other solutions. And then, but yeah, David McLaughlin, one of my best friends, who I haven't seen much in the last couple of years because he was kind of like anti-vax and MAGA and all that. So, it was one of the first times we hung out, and it was really nice. And he was like, I miss hanging out with you, man. And we shot basketball while Redford watched. And then at some point I was like, hey, if you have time, I'd love to take him up to the cemetery. He hasn't been up there in like, I don't know, 4 months or something. And he walked slowly. He had a really painful limp. He couldn't walk with comfort, and he would shake for hours after walking even a little bit. And then, I carried him some, and then I put him in the water, and he swam. The water wasn't high enough, Ashley. Like normally it would be higher and he could fully swim, but he kind of swam along and shook, like did exactly what he would do in the water. And then I got in the water and got him out, and he sat beneath the cherry tree, which is so beautiful. And then sat, and he walked back. It was more downhill, and then sat in the middle of Matty Dean because he couldn't make it all the way down for a long time. And I just kept playing basketball, giving him time. And I think then I probably carried him some more. And then he just kept jumping up that night, like very suddenly, with his ear like sticking out. He was very alert, but it was either, I wrote this, but it was like either dinner or needed to go to the bathroom. But it was so sudden that I think it was something was going on, because his heart was falling apart. His heart had swelled 3 times the size it should be, and it was leaking really badly, both into the heart and into his tummy. And then I picked him up just to be nice to him so he didn't have to go down the ramp, and went ahead and made him dinner, and it's still in my fridge.
What's beautiful? Sorry.
What's that?
I said, what's so beautiful and wonderful is that when he left, you were there with him, and he was home, and not say at a vet stable by himself or in surgery. He was with you at his home. So that's very beautiful.
It was pretty sudden and painful, but I was petting him and talking to him and telling him it's okay. And I got him outside, holding him in my arms, and because he was peeing all over, his whole body was like breaking and opening up. And
yeah,
I didn't know if
to
he was dying, but it felt like he was dying. And then he had like 1 or 2 or 3, 4 last breaths that were like 20 seconds apart, like a long time apart. And at that point, it was pretty clear. I was like, I don't know what dying looks like, but I'm pretty sure this is it. Because, you know, I mean, he'd been with me for 14 years. So there's some sort of assumption that like, oh, he's having a bad time, but he'll figure it out and he won't die and disappear. And then I just buried him this morning and just now. And that, it's pretty surreal, you know. But it is in a beautiful spot. We're going to plant a tree beside him. I dug a hole for a tree by him. So that'll be nice, the Redford tree. And and then I hope to put, like, there's this local wonderful Caroline, can't think right now, but Douglas. And she's magical and really magical. And hopefully, even if it's small, just make a little like Redford statue. And so I can like touch it on my way in and out of the house. So this is probably long enough. If anyone else wants to talk, you're welcome, but we can also go. Shannon, you were super helpful and sweet this morning. You made me think of the tree. I mean, I was thinking about a tree, but you made me think, okay, I really need to do that.
I was thinking, like, every day, several times a day, dogs grieve when we leave, or when we like leave the room, they even have this grieving process. But especially when you leave the house for like an hour and you come back and it's like you were gone for like 10 weeks.
Yeah.
And us humans don't do that. We feel badly leaving, but we don't have this grief process when we leave our doggies.
Yeah.
And I feel like when they leave, that's like the final, like,
yeah,
payback.
Yeah.
Now you know how we felt for 14 years every time you left, you know, this intense closeness, grief that they can never describe except for through their emotions and their feelings and what they do with you, because they can't speak. So it's a different
There's an article
way.
on Elephant that I love on that tip. Is something about sorry about all the poop is the title.
Yeah.
It's so profound. We should find that and link that to the Redford stuff, Lindsay. But that article came around when I had Redford as a puppy, and it really influenced me. It was like a poster, and it was like how to treat a dog, kind of. And Redford was sad always, but he also, you know, the quality dogs have of like immediately letting go and being joyful and being present, like immediately. And that was such a lesson to me always. He was so forgiving. Like when I was gone for, you know, if I went to an event or something and he was in the backyard for, you know, worst case scenario for like 6 hours and it got cold or something. I mean, he had dog houses and, you know, I took care of him, but worst case scenario, he would like, even then he'd let go in like 3 seconds and he'd be lawing with his tail wagging, going to the bathroom and eating dinner and playing and getting feisty after dinner. And what's that?
Lying. And then like once they celebrate for their, like when you come back, then they're like sleeping in 2 minutes because they're like, okay, all is well with the world. It's over.
Yeah.
There is no time with them, like in their mind.
Right. Well, thank you so much. It's super sweet of you guys to indulge me and Redford and to join, and Ashley and so many of you and other people couldn't attend. Kate is here. You know, so many people helped raise him. Like it takes a village, especially in the very early years, pre-Ashley and pre some other people like Gene and RC. You know, a lot. When I searched Redford on Facebook, like my posts about him, especially in the first couple of years, there were a lot of posts like, probably that's how Jen, you wound up helping or whatever, like me being like, I have this thing to go to. Can anyone help with Redford or take him on a hike? Or people really helped. So, and Lindsay taking him to the dog park, I'm sure that was that kind of situation. So thank you so much, everyone.
There's a little photos. I know that some folks wanted to see maybe photos, but I mean, this is like some people wanted to see him as a puppy.
Oh yeah.
And this is, yeah, him as a puppy, and then when he turned 13. So
Yeah.
he'd be coming close to being 15 this summer, in July. So kind of just a little image here. And I know that Waylon was talking about like the la la lying, and that is this little trot that he had, and it was funny. So I like, obviously I got to get into his life for like the last 2 years because Waylon and I met in 2020. But yeah, Redford was so sweet. He was like my yoga buddy. He was always with me, like hanging out, like sleeping right next to my mat. So it was always so relaxing to be next to him, like with his energy. He was just like napping out, and then I'd be done with my practice or teaching or whatever, and then he's like, okay, is it dinner time? Are we going out for a pee or a poo, or what's going on? Like, and yeah, he was just like there and so sweet. So I'm going to share here. Maybe let me see if I can do this. Yeah. Hopefully it works for everybody, okay?
Oh yeah, it does. Oh, it's sort of slower, but you kind of get the idea.
Yeah, maybe. Well, yeah. It's just a little video, but he used to have this trot. Anyways, it's not working right now.
Yeah, that was from June and RC up in Ward in the mountains, and yeah, you couldn't quite see the la 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 because it was sort of freezing. But anyway, he was so carefree and troublemaking. And I always said, I wrote this, but I always said when people ask his breed, I said he's half hound and all trouble, and he really was. Just so warm and dorky and full, so much character. And I think, you know, there's a part of me that is like, you know, like doesn't want to publicly make a big deal out of grief for an animal because so many people here and everywhere have lost human beings, and that's so much more profound. And but at the same time, like our love for sentient beings is, especially if we can explore veganism, should go beyond to any heart and any mind and any character. And you know, the weird obsessive love we have for pets that is sort of about love for ourselves, like they're kind of there for us. That's, you know, I really hope that's the lesson of Redford on some levels, that we're here for our pets and then they give us so much back. And you know, so I'm doing a fundraiser, and we'll give beyond the tree and the little statue, like we'll give it to Love and Arms, because when we went out to Love and Arms, Michelle and I, and I've been out there a few times, there's pigs and there's cows, and they all have character coming out of their ears. Like they all have big personalities and want to cuddle. Cows that are like 5 times your size want to cuddle up on you. And you know, when I think about getting a new dog, I give serious thought to adopting a pig, because I think that would be a profound lesson for bacon eaters all over town, because pigs are smarter than dogs and have tons of character and are big dorks, you know. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Lindsay.
Yeah. Oh, what did you do, Lindsay?
I just popped the link in. If anyone hasn't read the article, and then we also linked, the fundraiser in there, and then a few other fun links.
Tons of photos, and there's tons more. And Ryan Van Duzer
I
couldn't
just
be here
direct
today.
sorry.
No, you're great. What's that?
I didn't realize I direct messaged it to Michelle.
Oh, I see. So you're sending it to everyone. So yeah, Ryan Van Duzer isn't here, but he got me to get the Aura. Do you know what the Aura is? The digital frame. And I have to say, like today and the last couple months, it's been amazing just to have that and see all these photos. It's a digital photo frame, and it rotates through the photos, and so many photos of him all over town, and Ashley and everyone. We can all bow out. Let's all bow out. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you, Ashley, for making it. Thank you, everyone. Big love.
Thank you for raising such a sweet boy.